What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Classic Man. Thank you guys for being with us. Remember, y'all to like, subscribe, and share.
That's right.
Here with my main man, Carter.
Yes, sir. I'm excited for today's episode. Mostly because I've had 2 or 3 people tell me specifically that they wanted us to talk about today's topic. So when people give us their thoughts, it really, to me, makes it feel like people are invested in what we're doing and what we're talking about. So that makes it more fun for us.
I feel that.
When it comes to getting into things, because it's not just us talking about whatever we want to talk about.
Right.
It's getting to those things that others want to talk about as well. So the question today is, can one man on one income support a family of 4? Off top, what are your thoughts?
I don't know, man. It can be tough for sure. I don't know that it's possible right now, just because inflation is
crazy.
It's pretty high.
Yeah.
So this is a good conversation for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like with the amount of people that have hit me up to borrow money in the last 3 weeks, it's insane. And I think that just goes to show, this is probably the most I've given out, and also probably the tightest I've been personally.
Yeah.
In probably my adult life.
It gets hard, man. It's looking after 18, Well, I guess before 18, it's nice when you're at home and you don't have very many bills by yourself.
Yeah.
But once you get out there, it does seem to get a little bit harder, doesn't it?
Facts, yeah. Life starts to catch up with you. So I guess I want to know your thoughts on this, and I'm curious what everybody says. How much do you think a male, 30-year-old male with a somewhat decent job makes per year?
I'm going to say, somewhat decent job, you said.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that right around 30,000, 40,000.
See, that's where I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
That's where I thought.
That would be my guess. That's, a decent price for today in America. I don't even know it. I guess I don't know where the base of the middle class starts.
Right. So that would be the number for fresh out of college with a degree, would be about 38 to 40,000.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I said. Okay, and then once you get to 30, you're a little more established. You're making a little bit more money. They have the range at between 58 and 61,000 a year for one male with a decent job. Bit higher than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
But then, so that's the number we're going to work off of today. Off 60,000, can you support a family of 4? And I gotta say no.
I would say that would be tough, man. I make a decent amount being retired from the Army and working, and so I think it's feasible, but you have to be really strict at that.
Yeah.
You have to be real strict.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that's part of it. I think the issue is mental health plays so much into it. And what I mean by that is when you're not living the type of lifestyle you want to live, and it takes that discipline causes fatigue. That fatigue adds on top of the workload you already have to even make that much in the first place. And then what happens is you start to make poor decisions. So that poor decision making then plays even more into that poor mental health and that sad mental landscape. And then you start to spend money on things that you shouldn't in order to feel better, in order to get that dopamine rush, that fix.
Right.
Feeling okay. So an example to me is coffee. I think a lot of people turn to coffee throughout their day to feel better. And the prices have gone insane. And so the question that we want to get to today, and what those 2 or 3 people that were hitting me up about, is where's that balance or that line between blaming capitalism, blaming corporate greed, versus what we do with our own personal finances, how we choose to live, the decisions that we choose to make, and how do you balance both of those to be able to make the best choices for yourself, but also not get screwed over by these companies. And so I have stock in Starbucks, and this is not an endorsement of anybody or any stocks or any portfolios, just throwing that out there. But I saw both sides where I saw rising prices, right, for Starbucks drinks. I saw my own personal monthly budget increase for those drinks. And then I saw their responses or their answers for it, right? Yeah. And the answer was, well, inflation is causing us to spend more on things, and so we're passing that cost on. Now, in the shareholder meeting, on the other side, I'm hearing them talk about the fact that we're hitting record profits as a company.
I bet. Coffee's $1 billion industry, man.
It is.
It's super huge. That goes to show how many people every morning get up. You know, I mean, I'm a caffeine drinker, but not a big coffee drinker, but my wife is. I see so many people every day. I need coffee, man. I got to get my day started with coffee. If coffee's... Matter of fact, I asked a question on Facebook the other day, how their week was going, whether it was like a Monday morning coffee or Friday payday. And
that's funny.
People were saying like, man, I don't even operate without coffee.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a huge thing.
The interesting thing is I went through ChatGPT because I was curious. I actually used to work at a coffee shop when I originally first went back to college. But what's interesting is coffee is one of the cheapest items on the planet, unit-wise.
There's a deep story behind that. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it too much, but there's a deep story behind coffee.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, we're importing so much of it from South America especially, but it's one of the cheapest things out there. So how are we getting from, and I used ChatGPT and I went through the process of creating a cup of coffee with what I felt like were solid numbers. Like I gave a little extra in the numbers just to make sure it was fair.
Right.
And what I came up with is for less than $2, I can make a cup of coffee.
Wow.
You know, like in a coffee shop. Now.
And it's sold for $5.
It is, right? Yeah. Between $5 and $6. Now, I didn't add in, you know, cost of employees, cost of insurances, cost of the building itself, maintenance. So like there were still a lot of factors there.
Right.
I'm not sure it's enough to triple the cost of a singular coffee with how much you're selling. But what I saw in that Starbucks shareholder meeting was, and you kind of showed it, right, where you had this level of faith. Like, well, yeah, people spend so much money on coffee. We can't function without it. So that makes sense that the volume was so high. And that's the faith that we have in some of these companies. Now, on the flip side, the pass off was more than just the cost of inflation. So if inflation rose the price of everything that Starbucks had to pay for by 5 to 6%, just throwing a random number out there, then the margin that they increased it was closer to 10%. So they still picked up an extra 4% per cup of coffee.
Wow.
On top of...
That's pretty decent. You know, how many people drive to that line every day?
It is, exactly. And so those little bits start to add up. But that's that question of corporate greed. So where's that line of morality between lining our pockets, making sure our shareholders are getting a good return on investment, right? Because if I don't like what that return on investment is, if I'm not getting a dividend, so like, for example, my portfolio is all dividend based. So if I'm not receiving a dividend, I don't have it in my portfolio.
Right.
Starbucks pays a dividend. So, I mean, that increase pays me more.
Yeah.
But I'm still paying them more
on the same time.
So I understand that incentive because as an investor, we're giving you money and hoping that you're doing the best thing possible. And obviously you're doing something right with record profits. But from a morality standpoint, is it something wrong when you're adding an extra 4% that's unnecessary?
Yeah.
And taxing people a bit more when we're already so tight to begin with right now.
Yeah.
Like, where do we find that balance between how much we continue to raise prices and what people are able to pay without us overburdening them with our product? Yeah. Another example, though, on the flip side would be, and I'm curious your thoughts on the tariffs, because so far a lot of companies have not been passing on the cost of the tariff to the customer. A lot of companies have been eating that cost so far and trying to keep prices where they are. So tell me what you think in that realm.
Tariffs, U.S. has had tariffs for quite some time, and every other country puts tariffs on us. We've been paying out for the longest time to other countries with us sending our imports over there, what we create. But really, we've never really had any of that tax or tariffs on countries coming into us. So as they're making money on us, and of course, there's a lot of stuff made in Taiwan, China, Japan. All that stuff was coming in for a long time with no tariffs. Yeah. And so I'm sure I don't know the whole background behind it. So I'm sure there probably was some sort of tariffs before. I just don't know the numbers. I know now it has significantly jumped. Yeah. And so I think it is a positive point for our country. Yeah. Otherwise, why were countries doing it to us? Exactly.
So, and I kind of liken it to cleaning your room, right? When you do a deep clean of your room and you start pulling everything out, especially if you're like cleaning your closet or rearranging your clothes. And in the middle of this process, you got the music on, you're focused. And about halfway through, everything looks worse. Before it starts to look better. Right. Before you actually sort everything out. So you got to get everything out in the open. You got to figure out where everything's going. You rearrange everything. And then you start to put things back. And as you put everything back, it starts to look better.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And that's kind of where we are with these tariffs and with our own taxes. So a lot of people complain, man, we're getting taxed. We have some of the highest tax rates that we've seen. Man, we broke off from Great Britain because we were being, taxed. Even though there's more to that story about it, I'm just saying what people post. Right. And then we're complaining about the fact that now we're trying to cut some taxes off of Americans and essentially tax other countries to make up that difference. Right. And it's going to look a little ugly for a little while as we figure it out a bit. But as things get sorted out and as dollar amounts get put in the right place, and the fact that 90% of countries' debt is in the American dollar. Yeah. So even when other countries owe each other, that's still based in the dollar.
It is. And I feel like a big part of that, probably, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I would say maybe oil. When anybody in the world purchases oil, it still has to be exchanged to USD. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly. And actually, oil is a good one because coming out of COVID, going into the war in Ukraine, which is crazy to think about that's going to be in like people's textbooks 100 years from now. Yeah. And like we're living it right now. It's interesting seeing the aspects of history that we get to live in day-to-day life. So what's interesting is gas prices jumped once that war popped off and everybody's like, stop trading with Russia, stop trading with Russia, right? Prices jumped. Okay. Now, the price per barrel started to come down as we sorted out how we were going to offset the roughly 15 to 20% of oil we were getting from Russia. All right. Not 50%, not 80%, 15 to 20%. All right. So that balanced itself out and the price of the oil itself started to come down. Okay. However, in the States, we still saw prices hold significantly longer than what they were buying it for. So much so that in New Jersey, one of the state either senators or House reps, I can't remember which branch it was, but one of them decided to launch an investigation into the gas companies.
I was curious to see what you were going to say next on that.
Yeah, to see whether or not they were using just corporate greed, whether it was corporate greed. and nobody checking them. Like, hey, we're big oil. We can choose to keep prices wherever we want, and you guys are gonna have to pay it because we said so.
Straight gouging.
Facts. And essentially, that's what they found out it was.
Wow.
That price came down. So you fed us these reasons for why prices went up, and once those reasons are gone, prices never came down, and there was essentially nothing we could do about it except for hope that a politician would go and start a conversation.
Yeah.
And see where it would go from there.
Well, thank God he did, man, because it's crazy to think that people would even. No, it's not. No, it's not. I was going to give some benefit there, but no, definitely not.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about it, right? Innately. Do people, let's generalize it, right? Do people, we'll say Christian, non-Christian, religious, non-religious, whatever. Do people believe other humans are innately good or innately bad? Where do people stand on that? What would you guess?
I would say they're still good people.
Yeah.
As much as I look online, I would still think that we believe as a society that we still have good people in our country. That's my thought. I would think.
You feel like other people feel that way too?
Yeah, I think so.
That's interesting. I'm going to put a poll up. I think that we'll see. Because personally, right, I feel as though I am extremely optimistic on a micro level, person to person, right?
Okay.
So I feel like I give the benefit of the doubt to people. I trust people. I feel like they're going to do the right thing, But then on a macro level, when I say society, when I say people, like, let's look at America by and large. I have like such pessimism. I'm so negative.
Okay.
And so I don't know where that disconnect is, like why I feel like on a personal level that people are good, yet on a big picture level, people are not.
Yeah. I guess that brings a thought to my mind of, is that, no, it's nothing more than greed.
Yeah.
It's nothing more than greed.
Facts. Greed, and I would say, and I think these two go hand in hand, but pride as well, because with pride comes the thought that I deserve this. I earn this. I want this.
Yeah.
I should have this. And I don't care about that person next to me. I don't care who it's going to hurt. I think this is a big part of the issue that we have with society and a big divide that we have with helping other people. So whether you look at, and I'm not even talking politically here because let's talk about it. Both sides, policy-wise, right, what we expect as the person is either for the government to fix it. That would be if you're blue, right? And that's a bigger government, a bigger centralized government, okay? And so one government is going to take care of everybody. Mm-hmm. That's the thought process. And so when you have people who need things, where do they go? They go to the government, and the government gives them food stamps, government gives them assistance, this and that, right? On the other end, you have the mindset that there needs to be smaller government, less government, centralized. Yeah. Okay, so thought process there is one entity should not be making decisions for 330 million different people. That's your population in America. So instead of one entity attempting to make decisions for 330 million people, we already have divisions of 50. So their thought process is we're going to give as much power to these divisions of 50. Mm-hmm. And each one of these different states will have somewhat different laws, somewhat different living arrangements, living styles, and you move to the state that you want to move to. You vote with people who vote like what you vote like, and then the state will either give you assistance, or what they prefer is they prefer for religious institutions to give you assistance. Right. Okay, so they will give money and grants to nonprofits, religious organizations, and alternative routes, and those people are going to do what it takes to feed the masses. Okay, and whether you need clothing, whether you need food, whether you need this or that, instead of coming to the state, right? In the state trying to manage and run it all, we're going to give it to people who actually want to do this and care about doing this and want to take care of you. So that separation of church and state is not necessarily the way that we believe it to be, in which religion should have no say in politics and politics should have no say in religion on that point of view, because they're just saying that we're going to give the money to these institutions and allow them to help figure it out for you. And they can, because they're in the communities, right? They know the people, they know the need.
Yeah.
And as they interact with you, they know how to better serve you versus one entity trying to come up with resources for 330 million people.
Yeah.
Right? So either way, you as a person are looking for somebody else to resolve your problem.
Yep.
Right? Whether
Very true.
whether I'm going to the church, whether I'm going to a nonprofit, whether I'm going to the mental health board, whether I'm going to the government, the state, the federal level. Either way, I'm looking for somebody else to help fix my brother's problem, right?
Yep.
When in reality, how it should be is those with money on a personal level can choose to help those without money on a personal level. But that's where the greed takes over.
Yeah.
That's where it's, the government got it. That church got it.
Yeah.
They got it. And it's such an external problem. Somebody else is going to fix this, and it's not going to be me that fixes it.
Right.
And then we run into this issue of, okay, well, you have the 911 dilemma. All right. I'm not sure if you heard about this. Okay.
No, I don't know.
So we're out, right? We're in a crowd. Active shooter. Anything happens. Someone gets hurt. Right? Someone's sitting there on the ground. We run over to help. All right. Grab the tourniquet out of my assault pack, which I do keep on me. Putting the tourniquet on, and you say, somebody call 911. Guess what happens?
Panic.
Nobody calls.
Well, okay.
Nobody calls 911 because everybody thinks that somebody else is calling 911. Yep. And this is an actual study that they've done. So when we're running up to help, you have to point at somebody and you have to say, you.
Be direct.
Call 911. Right? You give the task to a specific person. So the same thing happens when it comes to helping our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, whoever it else is that is having problems. We say, oh, somebody else is going to help them. Oh, somebody's already done whatever. They're just not looking for the help.
Right.
No, you go help them. You go figure out what they need. If there is an organization, you connect them with that organization. You give them a ride over there. You ask them about how it went. You keep in contact and in touch with them. And if I'm doing that for my 2 or 3 people, and you're doing that for your 2 or 3 people, right?
Yeah.
And we're all keeping each other in check, and we're all holding each other accountable, and we're all helping each other.
It's a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. And now we all got what we need. They all got what they need. And then you have diversity within that. That doesn't mean only find people who look like how you look and who only believe what you believe, because then you end up isolated.
Yeah.
But the point is, we have to stop looking at other people and for other people to take care of our own people.
Right.
You know?
Now I have a question on that. It's a question on inflation. Do you think the cost of living makes a person work so much more that they feel like they have less time to give?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, in order to survive right now, people are having to work so insane, right? I'll take one of my friends, for example, who's an entrepreneur. He's putting in crazy amounts of hours, setting up meetings all the time. And he still goes out to DoorDash to make up money.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's like he's already doing 12, 13, 14-hour days before you even get to the DoorDash. DoorDash is really just so he can have extra money. Like whether it's, man, I want to eat this, I want to buy this, I want to be able to, I know one of my bros don't have it, I'm going to send him a little bit of money.
Yeah.
But like that money to actually function comes from DoorDashing on top of 12 to 14-hour days, which is insane. Or I know another sergeant who works 3 jobs. One is just for travel and leisure money. The other 2 pay the bills. But it still took 2 to pay the bills in the first place.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
The third is for, legit.
Fuel expenses, I'm sure, goes into that one. So it doesn't come out of the bill money.
Facts.
That goes right back to oil, bro. If you have a car that takes only premium, I feel for you now.
Oh, man.
Because God bless, man.
It's insane. It is. Because I used to put the middle one in the Jeep. You didn't have to.
Yeah.
So at some point I had to stop.
He was like, I love you, dude.
Facts. But yeah, because I just wanted my engine to run longer, run cleaner.
Yeah.
And I would accelerate rather quickly from time to time. And I was putting a lot of highway miles on it, driving from Philly to Detroit and back all the time.
Yeah.
So I thought long term it would make more sense for me to put that mid grade in there.
Burn better.
Yeah, but that price it was taxing me with going from Philly to Detroit in a Jeep.
I feel that.
Paying, 89 to 91 the whole way.
I don't think I've ever been on that. Is it a long straight stretch?
Yeah, you could take the PA Turnpike pretty much the whole way through Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Just, you got some mountains in there, so you got a lot of curves, ups and downs. So that's what makes the drive fun. But yeah, just back to that point, or I saw a political cartoon the other day, and it showed what it was supposed to depict was the amount of space that we give to cars in our lives. So you had like planks, and that was your sidewalk.
Okay.
And then wherever there would have been a road or a street, it was just a giant hole. And it was actually interesting to see, like, man, yeah, we walk on like this tiny narrow piece,
Yeah.
especially in America, and then you like cross the streets and you'll be crossing this big divide
Yeah.
over a little plank,
Right.
and sitting here like, yeah, this is insane. It's the way that we've made cities. It's the infrastructure that we have currently, and the question becomes, well, I mean, how do you fix it? How do you take a city and create it in such a way that everything you need is within walking distance? And let's call walking distance 1 mile.
Okay.
So your kids have to go to school within 1 mile. You got to be able to go to the grocery store, the gym, the movie theater, everything within 1 mile.
It'd be convenient. That'd be real convenient.
It would be, right?
Yeah.
And then you wrap these houses around them, but then how many of these do you have to support? Like how many people
Live in that
1
mile radius.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Versus, if you take, whether it's Defiance, which is roughly 15,000 people, if it's Columbus, which is a little under 1 million people, or you have a city like Detroit, which is in that million ballpark, that has dropped a lot for Detroit. But you start looking at these cities, you take Chicago. How do you turn Chicago into a city?
Yeah. I was thinking of San Antonio, 2.5 million.
Yeah. 2.5 million in San Antonio, and they all have to be able to get to school and everywhere else within a 1 mile radius.
Bro, you got North Side ISD, West Side, East Side, South Side. Bro, you got all these independent schools.
Facts. That's what it would turn into. And schools already barely have enough money to function as is.
Bro, yeah.
And so I think that it's not super realistic to make that happen, especially in the U.S. right now, without essentially migrating people to the middle of nowhere and building fresh.
Right.
Right. So you got to take a state like Oklahoma. Somebody got to go buy 1,000 acres,
Yeah.
and just start popping houses. And you got to get people to move there. You have to have different incentives. And so like just the amount of effort it would take to do that.
Talk about cookie cutter houses.
Facts. Yeah. But then would that help resolve some of the issues that you have in inner cities where you give people a fresh start to move? Can we start to pull people out of poverty by placing them in these areas? Is that state run? Is that individual run, like private? So private people trying to make money. Dan Gilbert, who's the owner of the Cavs, he was buying up a lot of the land in Detroit, a lot of the houses, trying to redo the houses and kind of flip that city around. I feel like he's one of the few who didn't inflate the prices so much for greed.
Yeah.
Like he really allowed people to have a chance.
I feel that.